Book 3, Canto 4, we have just now seen how anxious Ashwapati has been for the Divine Mother to come down so that the experience that was vouchsafed to him becomes the common property of mankind as a whole. Now notice, human beings have very funny systems of evaluation. I have often felt that suppose there is an epidemic that breaks out in a town. The epidemic strikes the town, people fall ill. So you need doctors, you need first aid, you need relief work, and a number of people get busy with it. Philanthropists are needed, volunteers are needed, doctors are needed, and some people work very hard. But the problem is this epidemic comes every year or once in 3 years. And next time it strikes, once again you need the same team. But very few people ask, why is it that the epidemic comes? Why is it that it strikes at the time that it does? In other words, all human agenda, all human plans for transforming society, for bringing fulfillment here, including the very elementary things like making food available to everybody, making housing available to everybody, making elementary health care available to everybody. Even this we have not been able to achieve in spite of our grandiose schemes, in spite of people who have great idealism, in spite of people who are willing to give everything for other people. And all these great enterprises, the communist enterprise, the democratic enterprise, all these enterprises have been blighted. Why does this happen? So I'm giving, this is the epidemic that has been striking us. That anything that you take up is vulgarized, is perverted. Marx and Lenin wanted a paradise for the proletariat. Eventually, it may not be for any fault of theirs. What they got is a nightmare in Russia. Now, why does this happen? You can always find some reason. Oh, this went wrong in Russia, this went wrong in France, this went wrong in India. We can always find some reason. United Nations has enough money for these projects, so some scholars will be sent, they will do the research and report will come and you'll all read it and feel very impressed. But the question to ask is, why come this kind of thing happens again and again and again? When the epidemic strikes, people carry first aid and you give their names. Civic reception is arranged for them. This doctor can be given this award and that award. This goes on and on. But people aren't asking this question, why is this that the epidemic comes? Why is this that the human spirit is always blighted by this? There was one person who was asking this question. He was not interested in finding first aid because he knew there are a number of people who are already in that enterprise, who are already in that business. Why is it that the epidemic comes? What is the source of this epidemic? That was Sri Aurobindo. And so, a person who finds the reason, suppose the reason has been found, that the water source, drinking water for that township comes from a particular water reservoir. And for some reason, once in 3 years, for whatever, weeds grow or whatever, the water gets polluted, and because of that, all this poison flows through the water and people get affected, whatever the reason is. Once you know this, you can take effective remedy for it, measures for it. There is no epidemic, there is no need for first aid, there is no need for second aid. We are all the time asking, waiting for the problem to appear, and then we are using our great intellect, great enterprise, say, how do we make sure the first aid goes there? The question to ask is, why do these problems arise? Any enterprise you take will fail. There will be some reason. So we wait for a next enterprise. That also will fail, another reason. According to Sri Aurobindo's analysis, there was nothing wrong with Marx. There was nothing wrong with the thinkers behind democracy. Democracy is a great ideal. Socialism is a wonderful ideal. But what was wrong is the human spirit which implements these ideals, makes a mockery of these things because there is this basic inadequacy in the human consciousness. Even if God were to come down and write a constitution for mankind, there is enough in our consciousness which will foul up everything. So the remedy to this, therefore, is not to write a foolproof constitution. We have not yet been able to do that. The remedy for this is to make sure that that which is a part of the human constitution now, human consciousness now, which constantly throws out this poison and spoils our noble dreams, ideals, this has to be detected. That has to be eliminated from the system. Is there a way out? This was the question that Sri Aurobindo was occupied with. And for him, this was the primary question that needed to be answered. And then he said, now we are facing this evolutionary crisis. Man has reached the end of his growth at the mental level. A new breakthrough has to come. And unless this new breakthrough comes, we will not be able to solve our problem. We will go round and round and round. There will be another revolution, another kind of a revolution, moral revolution, whatever revolution, financial revolution, trade revolution, you name it. And you can be absolutely sure that will also be frustrated. And so this frustrating element is right here. The limits for man's growth, the limits for human happiness are inner limits. As long as the inner limits are so narrow, you can't really have a perfect society, you can't have a perfect life. And this is to what Sri Aurobindo turned our attention, and he said that in 1914. In the Life Divine, he announced that a critical time has come in human evolution and we must find a way out, and he suggested this is the way. Now, to say that this is the way is not good enough. The way, in fact, has to be opened, and Sri Aurobindo didn't leave it for other people to do that work. He himself took it up, continued his sadhana. Sri Aurobindo was in intense sadhana 32 years after he finished writing the Life Divine. Why was he doing it? What was he doing? He was making sure that what he has projected as a possibility becomes a reality. So, this is what Ashwapati also is trying here. Ashwapati has seen this. Ashwapati has seen this perfection possible for man, but he wants to make sure that perfection comes down on earth, and that is why now he is face to face, standing before the Divine Mother, and the Divine Mother tells him, O Son of Strength, page 335, who climbst creation's peaks, no soul is thy companion in the light. Alone thou standest at the eternal doors. What thou hast won is thine. but ask no more. Ashwapati says, whatever you have now found is yours. Take this bounty, go back. Don't ask for anything more, because the Divine Mother knows what he's going to ask. And therefore she says, don't ask any more. O spirit aspiring in an ignorant frame, O voice arisen from the inconscience world, how shalt thou speak for men whose hearts are dumb? Make purblind earth the soul's seer vision's home, or lighten the burden of the senseless globe. How shalt thou speak for men whose hearts are dumb? Men don't even know what they are looking for. They didn't even know what they want. I am the mystery beyond reach of mind. I am the goal of the travail of the suns. My fire and sweetness are the cause of life, but too immense my danger and my joy. Awake not the immeasurable descent. Speak not my secret name to hostile time. Man is too weak to bear the infinite's weight. Don't ask me to come down, don't ask me to descend. Man is too weak to bear the infinite's weight. Truth born too soon might break the imperfect earth. Leave the all-seeing power to hew its way. In thy single vast achievement reign apart, helping the world with thy great lonely days. Like all these saints of the past, you go back to this earth, whatever you have realized as your subjective experience, siddhi, that will be yours. You go back, live in this realization, but don't ask for anything more. Be a light to other people, help them, guide them, give them occasional lectures like this. That's all you can do. There is nothing more you can do. In thy single vast achievement reign apart, helping the world with thy great lonely days. I ask thee not to merge thy heart of flame in the immobile's wide, uncaring bliss. Turn from the fruitless motion of the years, deserting the fierce labor of the worlds, aloof from beings lost in the alone. So, what is in brief? In brief, go back the way you came. What you have achieved is your personal gain. Don't ask that I give the same thing to everyone on earth. Man doesn't deserve this. Man has not yet felt the need for it. He is too much in love with his own ignorance. There is this evolutionary impetus that is going on right from a clod of earth. Plants came, birds came, animals came. Finally, man has come without anybody's guidance, without any project, without any director, without any financing. This project has gone on. Similarly, maybe after 5 million years, 10 million years, someday man will also realize and grow beyond his present limitations. Until then, what you do, you build up little ashrams everywhere, so whoever is tired of life and wants something else will come here, sit for meditation, get bliss, nirvana, whatever. The world will go on like this, wait for another 10 million years until man himself as a race reaches this point of evolutionary change. In the meanwhile, you go back, live in the midst of men, be a beacon of light for them, be a guide, and enjoy all that wealth, all that glory that you have seen. That's about all. Don't ask for anything more. Then the Divine Mother tries to convince him why he should not ask for anything more. What is man like? On page 336, last two lines. Assailed on earth and unassured of heaven, descended here unhappy and sublime, a link between the demigod and the beast. He knows not his own greatness nor his aim. A long time ago, a Greek philosopher described man as a being who is poised between the beast and the god. We are not at the level of the beasts, nor we are gods. We are poised between the beasts and the god. Since we don't have the innocence of the beast, we don't have the spontaneous natural happiness of the beasts. Since we don't have the perfection wisdom of God, we don't have God's peace, God's bliss. Man is the most tragic creature you will ever find in the universe. The most tragic. He is poised, neither a beast nor a god, poised in between. From time to time, our scientist friends dazzle us by pointing out that we are very close to the beasts, implying that we should be grateful for this. But not enough people are trying to remind us, not only is there a past, there is also a future. It is true that we are very close to the beasts, but it's also true that we have this future, we have this great potential. We are poised between the beasts and the gods. That's where we have to go. Not enough people are talking about this. If you talk about this, you will be dismissed as talking sentimental nonsense, bombast, and so on. What is realism? Realism is to say you are a beast. And we'd like to listen to this. All university professors tell you this. Naked ape. Ape at least has hair which covers its body. Man is getting bald. So he doesn't even have the protection the apes have of hair all over his body. This is what we are again constantly being told. So same thing, says a link between the demigod and the beast. He knows not his own greatness nor his aim. He has forgotten why he has come and whence. Man has forgotten why he has come here. His spirit and his members are at war. His heights break off too low to reach the skies. His mass is buried in the animal mire. A strange antinomy is his nature's rule. A riddle of opposites is made his field. Freedom he asks, but needs to live in bonds. We ask for freedom. Freedom for what? Freedom to be bound. So he asks for freedom, but needs to live in bonds. He has need of darkness to perceive some light. When all around him there is a lot of darkness, he can see a little light. So darkness is a precondition before he can see any light. And need of grief to feel a little bliss. Needs grief so that by comparison see some bliss. He has need of death to find a greater life. All sides he sees and turns to every call. He has no certain light by which to walk. His life is a blind man's buff, a hide and seek. He seeks himself, and from himself he runs. Meeting himself, he thinks it other than he. Always he builds, but finds no constant ground. Always he journeys, but nowhere arrives. He would guide the world. Himself he cannot guide. He would save his soul. His life he cannot save. You can save your soul on condition that you sacrifice your life. No, I don't want to sacrifice my life. Is it possible to save my life and my soul? No, that's not possible. You have to choose one of these. Either choose your soul or your life. So, the Divine Mother is saying your enterprise of saving souls is necessarily relegating life to the waste paper basket of nature. You drop life there, be your naked self, and run as fast as you can to Kailash or Vaikuntha or whatever you want to run. Life is all lost in this process. This is what man is. Do you think he really needs, he will really benefit from all the glory that you have seen? That's what the Divine Mother tells him on page 339, page 340, about 4 lines from the bottom. Ascend to thy high self, create, endure. Cease not from knowledge, let thy toil be vast. No more can earthly limits spend thy force. Equal thy work with long unending times. Traveler upon the bare eternal heights, tread still the difficult and dateless path, joining the cycles with its austere curve, measured for man by the initiate gods. And in conclusion, the Divine Mother says, end of that section, all things shall change in God's transfiguring hour. Wait, its time is not yet. You cannot ask instant change in the human condition. To its omnipotence leave thy works result. All things shall change in God's transfiguring hour. But Ashwapati will not take a no for an answer. Otherwise, Sri Aurobindo could have finished his enterprise long, long back in 1920 itself. He continued until 1950. Went on. This makes sense. In 1931-34, he said, I have no time for Savitri. I have other important work to do. What is that important work, we wonder? This was that important work. We regard Life Divine and Savitri was Sri Aurobindo's main important work. It was not, it's a secondary, it's a byproduct. His main work was this. His primary work was this, to persuade the transcendent power to come down. And so, Ashwapati's reply to the Divine Mother, page 341, how shall I rest content with mortal days and the dull measure of terrestrial things? I who have seen behind the cosmic mask the glory and the beauty of thy face. I have had this wonderful experience of fulfillment of life, seen your face. How can I go back and ask man to remain contented with the dull measure of terrestrial things? Hard is the doom to which thou bindest thy sons. How long shall our spirits battle with the night? and bear defeat and the brute yoke of death, we who are vessels of a deathless force and builders of the Godhead of the race. How long? Or if it is thy work I do below, amid the error and waste of human life, in the vague light of man's half-conscious mind, why breaks not in some distant gleam of thee? And then his very voice sounds tired, because it's the tired voice of humanity. Ever the centuries and millenniums pass. Where in the greyness is thy coming's ray? Where is the thunder of thy victory's wings? Only we hear the feet of passing gods. Keep the door open, light the agarbatti, God is coming, God is coming. Then we suddenly hear, God has passed by. How long? So Ashupati is saying, only we hear the feet of passing gods. Page 342, 4-5 lines from the top. All we have done is ever still to do. One more project, one more manifesto, one more revolution, one more scheme. War to banish all wars. Similarly, one more scheme to banish all schemes. Go on and on doing this. All we have done is ever still to do. All breaks and all renews and is the same. The exploitation, which was a part of feudal India, is still a part of the consciousness of independent India. The tendency to exploit, which was so rampant in Tsarist Russia, continued unabated, unchecked in communist Russia. What happens? Everything remains the same. The newborn ages perish like the old, as if the sad enigma kept its right, till all is done for which this scene was made. Too little the strength that now with us is born, too faint the light that steals through nature's lids, too faint, too scant the joy with which she buys our pain. End of that page. All life is fixed in an ascending scale, and adamantine is the evolving law. In the beginning is prepared the close. This strange, irrational product of the mire, this compromise between the beast and God, is not the crown of thy miraculous world. This compromise between the beast and God. See, we are all very happy with as we are. That is supposed to be humanism, to regard man as the highest value. There is nothing more beyond man. Who is deciding this? Man himself. If you asked a pig, ask which is the most perfect creature, O pig, the pig will say, naturally the pig. So many of the arguments that we always hear, that people like Sri Aurobindo want to go beyond man, that's a travesty. Man is the highest thing. Man is the measure of perfection. What can be more perfect than man? Who says this? Man says this. Because for him, there is nothing more better than man. Keep us men as we are now in our limited consciousness and make us happy. That's what we are asking. God is saying happiness is not in my agenda. In my agenda is fulfillment and perfection. That is a part of my agenda. Happiness as you think it is not a part of my agenda. If happiness were a part of my agenda, there would have been no evolutionary growth. Earth was as happy as it always has been. You ask a clod of rock, are you happy or unhappy? If you can respond, it will always tell you, I am blissfully happy. Don't disturb me. You ask a tree, it's happy. You ask an animal, they are all happy. Ask a man, oh, I am all right as a man, but I want some minor adjustments. This is all we want. Ashwapati is saying, this is a curious mixture of God and beast. That's all man is. This cannot be the crown of all this evolutionary labor. Well, there are a number of things there. We leave a few lines. He says, I know for certain that this is not the crown of evolutionary labor, because I have already seen a new race waiting in the occult world, getting ready to precipitate itself on this earth. I saw the omnipotent's flaming pioneers over the heavenly verge which turns towards life, come crowding down the amber stairs of birth, forerunners of a divine multitude. Out of the paths of the morning star they came into the little room of mortal life. I saw them cross the twilight of an age, the sun-eyed children of a marvelous dawn, the great creators with wide brows of calm, the massive barrier breakers of the world, and wrestlers with destiny in her lists of will, the laborers in the quarries of the gods, the messengers of the incommunicable, the architects of immortality. This is the new generation waiting there in the wings, all ready to come down. I know this. I have this confidence. I have seen this. Ashwapati says, he goes on. He has made the point, but the description is so wonderful. I think I'll read this. Into the fallen human spaces they came, faces that wore the immortal's glory still, voices that command still with the thoughts of God, bodies made beautiful by the Spirit's light, carrying the magic word, the mystic fire, carrying the Dionysian cup of joy, approaching eyes of a diviner man, lips chanting an unknown anthem of the soul, feet echoing in the corridors of time. And then he describes high priests of wisdom, sweetness, might, and bliss, discoverers of beauty's sunlit ways, and swimmers of love's laughing fiery floods, and dancers within rapture's golden doors. Their tread one day shall change the suffering earth and justify the light on nature's face. I am confident that this race will one day descend on earth and change everything here. And he pleads to the Divine Mother and says, even as of old, man came behind the beast. Man came after all these beasts had come. Even as of old, man came behind the beast. This high divine successor surely shall come. Man, something as imperfect as man, cannot be the glory and crown of this evolutionary journey. Just as the animal came after the plant life, and just as man came after the animal, the high successor, a successor to man will come behind man's inefficient mortal pace, behind his vain labor, sweat and blood and tears, He shall know what mortal mind barely does think. He shall do what the heart of the mortal could not dare. Inheritor of the toil of human time, he shall take on him the burden of the gods. All heavenly light shall visit the earth's thoughts. The might of heaven shall fortify earthly hearts. Earth's deeds shall touch the superhuman's height. Earth seeing widen into the infinite. Heavy, unchanged, weigh still the imperfect world. The splendid youth of time has passed and failed. Heavy and long are the years our labor counts, and still the seals are firm upon man's soul, and weary is the ancient mother's heart. Please do something about it. I am absolutely sure logic, reason, man's helplessness, man's aspiration, everything together hold out this promise that this new race that I have seen, the new species that I have seen, the new man that I have seen will come down here on earth, and therefore this is my prayer, O Mother, O radiant fountain of the world's delight, world free and unattainable above, O bliss, whoever dwells deep hid within, while men seek the outside and never find. Omnipotence, few lines later, girdled with the power of God, movements and moments of a mortal will, packed with eternal might, one human hour, and with one gesture change all future time. Let a great word be spoken from the heights, and one great act unlock the doors of fate. And what does the mother say? What would the mother say if you heard this of an ardent prayer from Ashwapati? The mother says on page 346, O strong forerunner, I have heard thy cry. One shall descend and break the iron law, change nature's doom by the lone spirit's power, a limitless mind that can contain the world, a sweet and violent heart of ardent calms, moved by the passions of the gods shall come. All mights and greatnesses shall join in her. Beauty shall walk celestial on the earth. Delight shall sleep in the cloudnet of her hair, and in her body, as on his homing tree, immortal love shall beat his glorious wings. A music of griefless things shall weave her charm. The harps of the perfect shall attune her voice. The streams of heaven shall murmur in her laugh. Her lips shall be the honeycombs of God. Her limbs, his golden jars of ecstasy. Her breasts, the rapture flowers of paradise. She shall bear wisdom in her voiceless bosom. Strength shall be with her like a conqueror's sword. And from her eyes the eternal's bliss shall gaze. A seed shall be sown in death's tremendous hour, a branch of heaven transplant to human soil. Nature shall overleap her mortal step. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. In other words, the Supreme Mother says to Ashwapati's prayer, Tathastu. Whatever you have prayed for, I grant. And this is a description of the new avatar that is going to descend And that will be, of course, Savitri, as you will see. With this assurance, Ashwapati comes back to earth. Of course, he was on earth, comes back in consciousness to earth. We conclude here. This is the end of book 3. I thought in the morning that I may not be able to do this today, but we had help, I guess, so we were able to do this in some fashion.